One of the things I tell people is
So the big question is, what are top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? To get the answers, we interview the top real estate agents to learn their secrets to success. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Elite Agent Secrets show. Today we've got Stephanie Deeds with us. She's been in the real estate game for over a decade. She's going to be bringing some heat for you today. She did over 22 million in 2021, and she's just got a lot of amazing stuff that she's doing for her community. She's specialized out in Dallas-Fort Worth. So a lovely area. Might have to come and visit you at some point, Stephanie. You know, I'm expecting an open invitation after this show, as are our listeners. But Stephanie, thank you for agreeing to come on the show with us today, share your secrets to success. We're going to be discussing building clients for life, living a world of abundance, and buying more time. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Another day in paradise, like we like to say it. But listen, Andrew, I know you'll have an open invite as long as you buy a house.
Right. It's a requirement. Yes. Are you looking for investment property? I'd be happy to assist you with that. Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's how it works. I got it. Well, to be fair, Texas
you gotta pay to play.
You got to pay to play. Texas is actually one of the states I still haven't been to. And like, there's only a few that I still really want to. And Texas is just one of them. And I've still not made the trip. My sister and her brother-in-law were out there not that long ago. They loved it. They did a bit of bouncing about. I know a bunch of people there, especially since obviously everything's gone on with the tax. Ton of people have migrated to Texas, right? Like crazy. Arizona and Texas and Florida seem to be like the three biggest hit states.
Yes.
But before we dive into more about Texas, take us back. So you've been in real estate for a bit over a decade. Mm-hmm. Take us back to a decade and a day ago. Tell us why you got into this crazy world of real estate.
Right. You mean that first day when you sit down at your desk, you open your computer, you look at your phone and go, what the hell am I supposed to do now that day? Or
it's the day before that when you go, what am I going to do? And then the day after you got your license and then you had that day.
That's right. Yeah. Well, so I actually, I was a teacher for a few years before I got my real estate license. It was not it's kind of made me feel like a terrible person to admit it out loud, but like it just wasn't my bag. I wasn't good at taking care of and teaching other people's children. So
do you know why I like you admitting that right now? Because it's not like we've got tens of thousands of listeners all over US. So like between me and you, got it. Perfect play.
I mean, I think one of the things I think I'm so thankful for real estate in the last decade is I have learned a ton about myself and the self-awareness I have gained from this. Yeah. And so it took me a long time to admit things like that out loud, but it wasn't my thing. I wasn't great at it, and I needed to not be in the classroom anymore, and had always been interested in real estate. My husband and I bought and sold probably 6 properties in the first 5 years we were together, just because we moved and went from city to city and whatever. So we'd always been kind of interested in it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And here I am. So when I started, it was basically the base of the market, after the crash and everything. I started in I guess it was just about starting to recover. I started in 2012. So, I like to tell the buyer's agents today that I used to be able to pull a list of 25 properties that matched your criteria, and we would narrow it down to 8, and we'd go look at all of them. And then we would even get to do a second showing on your top 2 favorites. And then we would get to negotiate, right? It was a totally different market, right? So that's,
I was just about to say, are you like describing some kind of fantasy land now?
Some people have never experienced this, but it was a real phenomenon. It did actually happen. So that was the market I started in. So it was very interesting to see. And I just was on a listing appointment yesterday telling a seller, I'm so thankful that I got in at a time where technology had not taken off in the way that it has. So I learned all the old tricks that agents have been doing for 40 years, but I also was there for the progression of the tech and how it has affected our business and kept up with it. So I feel like that's kind of part of my sales pitch. I'm a very well-rounded agent because of when I started and what I was there for as far as the growth. So, started that 10 years ago and did a lot of HUD-owned properties, a lot of foreclosure sales, a lot of, we walked through some real trash. I hate to say it that way, but like just abandoned and just yucky stuff. And then slowly but surely we started seeing this multiple offer market. Probably 4 or 5 years into the business, my husband came on. And so we are a husband and wife team. And over that time period have hired an operations manager and a transaction coordinator. That's actually part of one of the things I think we'll talk about today is how we've hired staff, but then changed positions and how they're going to work for us. And we've got 3 buyer's agents that are working for us right now as well.
Wow.
So one of the questions just for tangibility, I want to know if you were slinging $22 million worth of homes in year 1. Give us a quick roadmap to your 10 years. Like what was year 1, 2, 3, and then fast forward to the last couple of years.
So I like to look at year 1 kind of so I started, by the way, I had a baby in June and I started going into the office full time as a realtor in August. So I had a brand new baby and a 3-year-old when we started all this. From August to December, I closed 3 transactions. Okay. I think I lost money, right? There was no really profit, right? When we filed our taxes, I'm pretty sure I maybe broke even, probably lost money. So in the first 6 months, I did 3 deals. From January to December of the following year, I did 24. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
What changed? What was the biggest shift? I mean, you've done way more exponential growth.
Well, so I like to tell new agents that they just need to be patient because once you start to build the momentum,
patience,
the old cliche of the train getting started, right? Like it takes a minute for it to take off from the station, but once it does, it just gets faster and faster. And so I'm a big believer in activity breeds activity. And so I was just constantly either at a networking luncheon. This also sounds terrible, but I joke. I don't like to hang out with other realtors, because
join the club.
I do like to network and mastermind and what I do. I have some really, really good friends that are realtors, but as a general rule, like if you're going to network, you need to be doing it with people who might potentially buy property from you or refer business to you or whatever. So I was part of my college's former student club. I'm an Aggie. Whoop. Those of you that are listening from Texas know what I'm talking about. But so I went to luncheons with the former student club from them. I was super involved in my church. One of the things I tell people is I got up every morning and I got dressed and I put my name tag on. And that is how I went to the office, whether I had appointments, whether I didn't. So every day I walked into my daughter's preschool and my son's elementary school and I was dressed like an agent. I looked professional. I had a name tag on. I think in my first year, I did 4 deals just from the preschool because people saw me dressed and professional and ready to work. So
it was that repetition, right?
Yeah.
People started recognizing that you're showing up every day. We find that a lot of agents don't show up. They treat this thing like a hobby.
Yeah.
Where, for the lack of better words, there's no repetition. And sometimes like that person doesn't realize that you're an agent because you don't act like one. You don't look like one. You don't know your stuff. You don't talk about your stuff, right?
Yep. Well, I think I read a statistic recently that said like every 7 to 14 days, your sphere of influence forgets what you do for a living.
Jesus. That's scary if that's true. Holy shit.
So, anyway.
That is great.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned, this is a blessing and a curse. We've spoken about this to a bunch of crazy high producers, and it's the whole phenomenon of children. Right now, everyone the thought process is this. You've got children now, you're busier, you haven't got as much time to dedicate. But one of the things that children give you, whether you want them or not, is essentially they are now a full-time hobby. And what I mean by that is you are forced into situations where you are meeting people irrespective of whether you want to anymore. Because your son or, Jackson, his best friend Danny over there, you're now meeting his parents, right? And there is a number of top producing agents on there going, do you know how many deals I got from waiting outside to pick up my kids from school? A lot.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I moved to a new area with our kids, put them in school. And he's like, yeah, I got like 12 deals in my first 6 months just from waiting outside talking to parents.
That's
and
right.
It's like,
so Andrew, are you saying we should start breeding so then we start getting
what about you've already got 2 kids? I am saving myself. Like I've got race cars. Like I don't have time.
Well, here's what I would say to that. Actually, I think that you have to use what you have. Right? Use what you have. So I have children and I can use that. I can talk to parents I can sponsor. I just sponsored field day shirts for my daughter's elementary school. I can sponsor the middle school, baseball team or whatever. So my logo's out there, my phone number's out there. People know what we do. Right. So I use that because I have it, but I'm sure you guys as a coaching organization, whatever, you are followers and familiar with Jim Rohn, and he loves to say, you got to work with what you got. You got to work with what you got, right? So if you don't have kids, what do you have? Do you have a tennis hobby? Go play tennis and join the country club. Do you play golf? Go play golf and go do every golf scramble that your city offers anywhere ever. Do you have, I've got an agent on my team who she's got very conservative political beliefs, and I encourage it's something she's passionate about. I said, go join the Women's Republican organization. Like if that's something that's important to you, if you you don't have to have kids to have the same benefits and connections and networking opportunities that I have. I wish I could go to more networking luncheons that were not child related. But at this point, we're just going to work with what we got, right?
100%. No, absolutely. The hobby side of things is like the next step. Is like everyone has hobbies. Everyone has things they like to do, and you've got to get yourself out there. I would say there is one distinct advantage to say being a parent, which is obviously children grow up, they're having more kids, so moving and buying properties. Thing is, in the worlds that I live in with race cars, they don't own fucking houses, they own race cars. They rent everything. Like, do you know what I mean? We're all broke as fuck buying race car shit. Like, we have the worst financial management when it comes to like logically, like, do I buy this house or do I buy this £200,000 race car? And they're like, I can live in that race car, but I can't race a house.
Right. Everybody has their thing, right?
Absolutely. So I want to bring it full circle to the last couple of years. I want to know how you've done during the pandemic, and I'm not sure if we're classing this as post-pandemic. Don't want to go down that route, but last couple of years, 2020, 2021, has your business flourished, or have you struggled? Like, give us a quick wrap on the last couple of years.
So that's an interesting. I think there's different ways to look at it. So 2020 was our best year. We have consistently improved our volume, our GCI. We're consistently growing, and 2020 was not an exception. We had a fantastic year in 2020. I will admit, the day that the shutdown happened, my husband and I looked at each other and went, oh shit, right? Like, this is going to be a problem. But I think we very quickly said, okay, how do we pivot? How do we stay in touch with people? How do we be there if they need us? How do we, I hosted Zoom birthday parties for past clients and friends, and got like a superhero character on the Zoom reading we were just looking at creative ways to stay connected to people because we couldn't be with them in person. We do a lot of client events that we had to cancel quite a bit of. So yes, our business flourished because even in the middle of the pandemic, people still needed to move, whether it was for a job transfer or whatever the situation was. We did still do I think we did 20 million in 2020. So
that's crazy if you think about that, right? In perspective, because everybody was panicking. We had to pretty much reinvent how we do business, how we communicate, how we connect with individuals, all at the same time while trying to navigate this ourselves by ourselves. So like, for example, like Florida, My wife and I, we moved in the middle of the pandemic. We moved October of 2020. In the middle of the shutdowns. I remember we actually visited Florida and we got back on the last flight to Philly on March, I think 1st or March 2nd. We literally were the last flight that was allowed to come back.
Right.
We got home, we turned on the news, or we just turned on the TV, and the announcement was like, no flights are landing in Philadelphia. We're like, oh shit.
Yep.
Right. Ultimately, where I'm going with this is we still moved.
Yeah.
We weren't scared. And especially because we were in Philly, we were like a mile away from the riots. We just had a new kid. We were like, okay, maybe it's time for us to explore other locations. Do we miss Philly? Sure. But like, we don't think about it twice.
Right.
Well,
so there's a story that kind of, I guess, a fable type of story that I love to tell about the salesperson who went, to a village where people were wearing no shoes. Him and his other buddy, both salespeople, went to this village where nobody was wearing shoes. Well, they were shoe salesmen. So one of the guys calls his boss and he says, "We are totally screwed. No one wears shoes here." Right? The other guy calls his boss and goes, "Oh my gosh, this is a gold mine. Nobody wears shoes here." Right? So your perspective is such an important piece of it. And I think there were too many agents and too many people in general who looked at the pandemic and went,
yep.
And they just shut down. And there was no reason for that. We still can stay connected. We still can do business. The people who came out of the pandemic better than they went into it are the ones who said, how do I pivot and how do I figure out how to creatively continue to do what I'm doing or do what I'm doing better? I mean, ultimately what the pandemic did, I believe, for my business is to teach us how to do better outside of the pandemic. Like there are things we do for our clients now that we didn't before, that we didn't know how valuable they could be.
100%. I think basically, obviously, everyone that comes on our show, you guys are all in the top, 1% in the country, if not higher. We have people who are 1% of the 1%. And the commonality is, I just saw agents around me just going, I'm going to stop and wait it out. And then there's people like yourself who went, this could be the greatest opportunity to grow this business, like fuck. And then it was this thing where it was like the person next to you, is like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait it out. And then you're going, well, I'm just going to keep going. And then all of a sudden there was more business for you to be had because everyone else now wasn't fighting for it. It was this total, it was such a weird thing because 2020 as well was also our best year with regards growth, and I was really surprised. And then I was just like, well, it's because we didn't change. We just carried on as if nothing had changed. But because a lot of other people stopped, that is why we had so much success. And then as 2021, a lot more people started to ramp back up. And then, the market changed and there was a lot more competition because people were like, okay, the markets are continuing, blah, blah, blah. And that's for another story. But
yeah,
what I want to dive into now, because you're giving us a great perspective on the last decade, but because you're discussing clients and giving them great experience. So I want to dive into your first topic and I want you to break down your first topic, which is building clients for life, why that is your first secret to success.
So I'm a big proponent for business and personal, I think it's just building authentic connections is one of our core values on our team, and creating true relationships with people is, are you going to be best friends with every person you ever work with? Probably not, but are you going to create some really cool, lasting relationships with people? Absolutely. And so from a personal perspective, it's important to me to have those types of relationships, but also just from a business sense, a warm referral or someone who comes recommended to you by a friend or family, someone who has a personal connection to you in some way, is always going to be a better referral than somebody that came through an internet lead or came through a referral source that's not a personal one, so from a business perspective, I feel like warm referrals are the best way to do business. And as an individual, I prefer to do business with people I can personally connect with anyway. So building clients for life, that's why we do it. That, I know a lot of agents that just churn them through. They don't even keep a database of past clients. It's like, where do I find my next deal? Where do I find my next deal? And they don't even really care who they did business with last month. And that's just never been who we were. So building clients for life is important to me from a connection perspective. When we talk about doing that, really, it's just creating opportunities to interact with them. Sometimes we've done, pop buys where we leave stuff on doorsteps and, people love it. We've done, hula hoops for kids. I mean, it's just random. We tend to try to match the season. We've done, sparklers at the 4th of July and just dropping random stuff off at their doorstep that they can enjoy. And it's also a great social media opportunity. We very often get photos taken and tagged. Look what the Deeds Group left on my doorstep. They love that kind of stuff. We do a lot of events. So we do a luau every summer. Our biggest hit is our Christmas party. Santa comes to our office every year. My kids, actually, my daughter is about to turn 10. And I think up until this year, if you're listening to this podcast in the car and you have your kids, hit pause right now. But up until this last year, my daughter thought the real Santa came to mom's office every year. Like it was the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome.
We had, I have clients every year, probably around the 1st of October, end of October, that are reaching out to me. What date's the Christmas party? What date's the Christmas party? They don't go to the mall anymore. They don't go anywhere else. They come to our office because it's a personal experience. They get to talk with Santa. There's not a line a mile long. We have cookie decorating and crafts and all the things. So once a year, that's an opportunity to have our clients together. We do a date night because we know that we have to reach out to clients who don't have kids, right? So this last year we did axe throwing, which was awesome and super fun. Do
I have to bring a date or can I just come?
You absolutely can come without a date, 100%. And we encourage that. We do. We call it date night, but we're, bring a friend, whatever, just come have a good time. So between the events and the pop buys and just, we just try to reach out on a regular basis. Like everybody on my database, I'm trying to reach out once a quarter. I don't always hit that goal because life gets busy and sometimes you don't make all the calls you want, but we are very, very intentional about making those calls to our clients.
One of the best things that we've seen in our business and in many others is actually, and it might sound somewhat callous, but it's actually very beneficial to all parties, at least the way I perceive it is, that when we talk about nurturing relationships, and especially from a referral standpoint and building those clients for life who do refer you more business, actually there tends to be a small number that are basically like mega referrers. So one of the bits of advice we always give everyone is break down your list of clients, right? People who've referred you business, and then break down who came from who. And what you tend to find is the 80-20, that 80% of those referrals will come from 20%. So now what you actually do is, let's say you had a 10K budget. This is so arbitrary, but let's say you had a 10K budget.
Right.
Well, now you put $8,000 of the 10K into the 20% that deliver you the 80%.
Right.
And then you put the $2,000 into the other 80%. And so they're still getting nurtured, but it's not the same level. But the ones who are like doing amazing shit for you, like you rent them a Lambo for a day. This is so arbitrary, but you get my point where it's like, because they are like the mega referrers. They love you. They are your raving fans. And ultimately, they want to keep doing more business with you. So just really, really nurture and put into those relationships heavily. And in doing so, you'll be amazed how many more referrals that might come out of it. But irrespective, they will feel massively appreciated for what they gave you. Because at this point, we're talking, they've probably helped you cross over 6 figures in additional revenue that has gone into your bank. I know you've done the sales, but ultimately the leads kind of cost you nothing. So just really feed back in,
Sure. No, that is great advice. And so true. So true. I do often look at my list of people we're inviting to these things and go, why is this person still on the list? It sounds terrible, but why is this person still? So we evaluate our list frequently. And that, that is great advice. I like that 80-20 rule. So. Yeah,
it's just everything in life. It always works out, and then there's the 80-20 of the 80-20, But it's just a great way for, yourself and all our listeners, like just break down who's giving you referrals and really pour in. If you've got a marketing budget or referral budget to pour into people and then figure out, hey, Jason has given me 6 referrals, made $100,000 off those referrals, or, 60, 70K, like you can afford to put a few grand. And if you spend a few grand on someone, like, holy shit, they would know. Like, you would know for sure. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in gaining access to our course and coaching programs, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com.